when I see people making changes, whether it's a small change or having an aha moment where they fall in love with something so good for them, that's the best. That's the best. It makes me happy.
I know in my experience that when you open up that pathway of doing something for yourself, whether it's your nutrition, getting out for a walk, or even just sitting and being, that all of a sudden the time you never thought you had all of a sudden becomes easy. And it's because you're setting those signals out to the people around you and to spirit in the universe. This is important to me. And all of a sudden space is opened up for that.
Hi, I am Donna McDine, and welcome to the Energy of Serenity podcast. Here we unleash empowerment through the power of the word. Join me and my guests as we share stories, tools, and insights to help you feel grounded and aligned. Let's dive in.
Good evening, Donna McDine here at the Energy Serenity Podcast. I am so happy to welcome Mary Driscoll with me today. Mary is a holistic health and life coach who supports women in elevating their health and happiness by looking at the whole picture: mind, body, spirit, and the practical rhythms of our everyday life. Mary's work is rooted in compassion, deep listening, and helping women navigate life's hardest seasons with clarity, confidence, and care. Welcome, Mary.
Thank you, Donna. It's so nice to be here.
Delighted to have you here with me today. And so I know here in the Hudson Valley, we're dealing with a really deep freeze, but I think the whole country is dealing with it as well in their own aspect. So I really wanted to touch base with you and really have you talk to our listeners on how your journey brought you in to your beautiful, healthy, clean eating.
Okay. It really has just been probably the last 10 years or so that I've really taken a deep dive into clean eating. I didn't have great eating habits before. And it took kind of two things that almost came together at the same time. One was that my oldest child was diagnosed with a peanut allergy.
Okay.
And tree nuts, and at the time eggs, and all of the things, which forced me to take a closer look at food labels.
Yeah.
I was used to looking at the calories, growing up in the 80s and 90s. We focused on how much fat, how much calories, that kind of thing. I didn't really look to the ingredients, but the allergies forced me to look. And as I looked, I realized how much stuff was on there that I had no idea what it was. It didn't sound great. So that was my first awareness. And around that time, there was also some, buzz on the news about high fructose corn syrup, in the sodas and this and that. So while I was reading labels, I started looking for that. And I just kind of made it just without really much thought. But you know what? I'm not going to buy anything with high fructose corn syrup. So that was like my first no-go ingredient. And then after that, after I had been doing that for a while, I found exercise. I was never an exercise person. I hated it. I hated sports. So I started exercising, fell in love with it, realized what a difference it makes in your whole life. It really changed everything for me. And it sparked an interest then in taking better care of my body, paying more attention to what I was eating. And I came across this thing called clean eating. And I tried to figure out what it was and what that meant for me. And I had 4 little ones at the time. So how did I make it work for me, for them? And that was what started the journey for me.
That's beautiful, because oftentimes I know in my own experience with speaking with women, even men, that there's a catalyst to what brings us to why we are where we are. And with you, especially with having a child diagnosed with the nut allergy, and then it just really transformed into more of a healthier way of being. Because when you do take the time out, as you have taught me, when you start reading those ingredients on the labels, something that you thought was pretty healthy ended up really not being healthy. And it's very interesting because when you go over to Europe, they don't have the food stores the way we do here, where almost some products have like an endless shelf life here.
Yeah.
So we really have to be careful as to what we're putting in our bodies. And I know you've helped me tremendously on that, of really pausing, not just staying in the routine, taking that time out and reading those labels. I know you meet with clients and you discuss with them and trying to help them transform their eating habits. And what I loved about your approach, it's like, no, you don't have to throw everything out and you have to start from scratch. It's like a gradual. So can you explain how you really get involved with that whole conversation of guidance with your clients?
Sure. I know for me, it was overwhelming especially at the time. I understand, and I think there's some value. Some people want to go all in and just, start fresh. And I understand that and can appreciate that. But for me, it was overwhelming.
Yeah.
So I just did it very gradually. It was high fructose corn syrup first, and then it was partially hydrogenated oils and things. And gradually, I just did away with the bad stuff and started incorporating good stuff. So I try to meet my clients where they are, and most of them are busy. Most of them, most of the people I've worked with have kids at home or a busy job, or both, and time is often an issue. So I don't want it to feel like a major life overhaul that they can't make time for. I want to look at what their life looks like, what they're dealing with, and how we can make it manageable to just start taking those little steps. So it depends on who I'm working with, but I'll kind of get a feel for what might be their problem area or their place where they struggle the most, what they sound most willing to change first, and incorporate it slowly.
And that's beautiful because, like you said, some people just want to go full throttle. Okay, I'm changing this completely. But then knowing you can do it in piecemeal and be just as effective as well.
Yeah.
Because I know oftentimes when I'm speaking with people that when they say, oh, how often should I come for a Reiki session? And I always say to them, you don't want to make this feel like it's another to-do item on your list. Is that oftentimes the way you approach your conversations with your clients so they don't put all that pressure on themselves?
Yes. And that's, I think, a danger we have. Sometimes we want to do this, go full throttle or take on a new lifestyle type of eating, like keto or whatever. I'm not, whatever it is. And then that can cause burnout, and that can cause you to just throw in the towel after a few days or a few weeks or whatever and revert back to what you were doing. Sometimes it's even worse than what you were doing. So by changing the mindset as something that this is doing for your health, for your body, by looking at food more, looking at not just what we're eating, but why we're eating, and kind of trying to bring in that mindset piece of it without overdoing it because we have to stick to the practical stuff too. And having them find ways that it becomes easier for them. And I'm big on easy. Like when I do yoga at home, I Google easy yoga. When I look up a new, I don't want to do too many downward facing dogs. I don't want to be, when I look for new recipes, I look for easy, often quick and easy, or, simple. So I want to try to help people do that. What can you do to make it easier? So things that I do in my own life. I'm big. I don't always have time on a Sunday to do a full meal prep that you hear a lot about in clean eating. So I'm big on sneaking in things when I'm cooking. So when I'm cooking dinner on Monday, I make double. When I'm making waffles on Sunday, I make double. When I'm, today I was, like making whatever breakfast for the kids, or it was yesterday, I think. So while I was at it, I broke up my bananas to put in the freezer for my smoothies. So like sneaking things in like that. And that's what I'll try to do for people. Like, how can we make this easy, take some of the stress away, and then you get to a point, I think you experienced this, Donna, where it starts to feel like kind of good and honoring of like who you're, how you're taking care of yourself, and you find ways to make it nice and kind of ritualistic, and your mindset starts to change
Yeah.
about how you're fueling your body.
Yeah, definitely. Because I know that when I was first meeting with you and really changing my eating habits, that at first it was like, wait a minute. And you chose such wonderful words to guide me in that. And I don't even know at the time if you were even aware that your selections of certain words to put me at ease did put me at ease. Have you ever thought about that? That the type of wording that you use with your clients?
I'm so glad you said that, Donna. I do try to think of that. I think certain words get people, they put a wall up. They don't want it to be too involved. They don't want it to be too time consuming. So I am mindful of how I word things and phrase things, and the timing of stations and the process and
Right.
everything.
Because it's very interesting, because as we're trying to so-called change something in our lives, we for the better, we can end up being our own inner naysayer and being like, it's just so much easier just to grab that slice of pizza and call it a night for dinner. But I love the aspect on how you explain that when you're prepping for one meal, you don't have to carve out hours on a Sunday for the week. Say, like you said, if you're preparing a meal on Monday, so make double of it, so that you're eating, healthy again later for another evening, or that's what you're taking for lunch to work the next day, so that you're not grabbing that quick, simple thing that at the deli or whatever it may be that you think you're eating healthy, but over time you don't feel right because you're just not putting that nutritional value in it. Not to knock delis by any means, because I love my deli that I go to, but it's nice that you don't have to put all that pressure on you. Oh, I need 3 hours on Sunday to cook all week long so that I'm eating healthy. By doing it in piecemeal, it works just as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. And even if you're ordering out a lot, or how can you, it is what it is, just how can you make better choices? And then if you're ordering a big chicken, salad with chicken and whatever, double or save half, or, for lunch the next day. So finding ways to make it work and your lifestyle.
When you speak with your clients, because you're primarily with your clients is about their nutrition, do you ever talk to them about their exercise, and are they doing that for themselves as well, and that it really isn't a chore, it's truly self-care?
Yes. And it's interesting you say that, because that's another thing. I don't want to scare off people with exercise, but I think of it, and this is where I really feel like the holistic part comes in. I really think that there's just so many, so much interconnection between exercise, your mental health, and practices you do for that, and your nutrition. And I feel like it's like the old, like, pebble in a pond and the ripple, like everybody's pebble is going to be different. If you had asked me before I started exercising, what would be easier for me to change in my life, nutrition or exercise, I 100% without hesitation would have said nutrition. I would have said, oh, piece of cake, I'll just change my nutrition, but I'm not exercising. But it never worked before. And lo and behold, I did a crazy exercise program. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done. And it changed my life. And that was my pebble. It was that exercise that changed everything, because I realized that exercise has a huge impact on your mood, which sounds ridiculous to say, but
it does.
It does. And I didn't know that it did. I don't know. Maybe nobody told me. Maybe I didn't want to hear it. I don't know how.
Because you hear the word exercise, you're like, oh no, what?
It changed everything. It changed my mood. It changed my relationship with people. I was a better mom with my little ones at the time. It really changed everything. And I think that coming first for me put me in a position to change my nutrition. So when I do meet with people initially or the first time, if the nutrition part isn't clicking, I think it's something to look at. Maybe there's something else they need to put into place first, so that the pieces, can fall into place as they're supposed to for that individual. Or, they're so closely connected. Like, I think once you start feeling better from eating better, the exercise will feel better. Just like when you work out, you tend to want to eat a little healthier or not go eat something horrible anyway.
Right.
So I do try to incorporate that. And just like you don't want nutrition to feel overwhelming or hard, you can find your way with exercise. For some people, a more challenging program, something that they've never done before, might be the click that they need to make it a part of their life. Or you can just talk about how we can incorporate a 10-minute walk after dinner, or little bits of exercise during the day, or what do you enjoy doing? So they definitely go together. And sometimes I wonder if there's a resistance to the nutrition, if maybe the exercise could help that along. So I try to, feel them out and see their thoughts on it. But
that's beautiful. And I really liked what you said, that start with a 10-minute walk after dinner. Simple.
Right.
Just do something simple, because I know in my experience that when you open up that pathway of doing something for yourself, whether it's your nutrition, getting out for a walk, or even just sitting and being, that all of a sudden the time you never thought you had all of a sudden becomes easy. And it's because you're setting those signals out to the people around you and to spirit in the universe. This is important to me. And also space is opened up for that. And I love the aspect of really talking to your clients and not just keeping it to the one aspect of the nutrition, that you're bringing them in as a person as a whole, learning what is your lifestyle, what's your commute, how long are your hours. So really factoring that all in so you don't overwhelm them with too many changes at once, because if they are commuting into the city, they're probably out of the house from 7 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night.
Right.
And it's so the piecemeal, the baby steps is huge. Even like you said, get out during the day, get out at lunchtime, go for a 10-minute walk. And then you feel like you've done something for yourself. So it regenerates your thoughts, like, okay, what else can I do? Because now I'm getting in a better mindset. I don't have as much tiredness at that 2 o'clock slump because I know I went out for that walk at lunchtime. It's a huge aspect. It really is. And I know for myself right now at my day job, I'll go walk the hall because it's so cold out right now. And I have the luxury of working in a big building. So it's not like you're constantly bumping into people and that you're in their way while they're trying to do business, but you can walk the floor and get that nice stretch and feel like you're doing something for yourself. And it's interesting because I don't buy lunch. I always bring lunch. So I know what I'm bringing with me, and I know it's healthier than it would if I was just grabbing something on the run. Because while our cafeteria is great and you have a lot of options, I would always go for the easy thing and find that I'm not eating the way I should be and eating too much because I feel like I have to eat all of it because I purchased it. Yeah. So, yeah. So, and it's funny because people will say to me, you're very portion controlled. And I said, I am, so that I don't overeat. Because if I bring something that I really like to eat, I'll just keep eating it till it's done.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny you say that. It made me think of two things. One, when I begin sessions talking about the holistic aspect, we always start with some deep breathing and a little meditation, depending on the person and their openness to it, but some kind of just a deep breath and settling into the space that we're in. I think
that's so beautiful.
Either like
Mary, I'd like you to go a little bit deeper into what a typical client session is for you, because I love that aspect, because I was so pleasantly surprised when you opened up one of our first sessions with, okay, some deep breathing and meditation. So I'd really like you, without divulging any client confidentiality, I'd like you to just walk us through so the listeners can really hear what they would experience from a beautiful, nutritional conversation with you.
Okay, sure. We would start with pleasantries, hello, how are you, and that kind of thing. But then really, I like to do something that kind of connects the body and the mind and the breath. I think we're in our heads so much and just so busy. Sometimes we're not even aware of our breathing. Sometimes I wonder, I say it's a wonder that I'm alive, because when you take a deep breath, you realize how shallow your breathing has been.
It's so true.
So I encourage them to just sit for a second, close their eyes, take some deep breaths, depending on the client and how I feel, or maybe they've told me, or maybe I've just kind of ascertained it from our conversations. Their comfort level with meditation, I might do a short meditation. A body scan is great for really coming into yourself in the moment. I do some stretches and movement to really, remember the body, why we're here, what we're talking about today, and bringing your attention to your body, feeling your legs in your chair, your feet on the floor, and noticing any tension in your body, that kind of thing. So almost like you'd experience in a meditation or in a yoga class. And again, I vary that depending on the individual. But I find most of the time, it's just such a welcome relief to just sit and take that deep breath and sink into that chair, because we don't do that often.
No, we really don't, because we get so busy at the task at hand that we don't even realize we haven't rolled our shoulders a bit. We haven't taken that beautiful breath. So I love how you do that. So, and pardon my interruption, I just get so excited about this. So then after you get them to really do that body scan, you do some deep breathing, a potential meditation, then where do you bring the client in with that?
Usually, the other purpose of that is kind of removing them a little bit from their day. Whatever stress you just left upstairs or back there or in the kitchen, wherever you're coming in from, you're separated from that now, and it's your time. So we did the little breath work or whatever, the little mindset stuff, settling in, and then we sit. I am like you, Donna. I love writing.
Yes.
I know not everybody does, but I think it's an underutilized tool. So I always encourage a notebook, either just to jot practical things about, nutrition stuff, or just to jot thoughts that come to us during the session. So we'll get out our notebooks, and mostly it's listening. It's a lot of listening on my part. Okay. If it's, we're a couple of sessions in, or even just after the initial session, it's how did your week or 2 weeks go? What went well? What didn't go so well? Where are you at now? So just kind of looking to where they've been. I try to end each coaching session with a game plan, so that there's practical things that they can put into place that we decide on together.
Right.
And so we'll say, how did that go at the beginning of the session? And then just see where the conversation takes us. Usually, I have some things in my mind and in my notebook in mind for the individual, but it's mostly client led, where they need to go. Things that came up that week, things that they noticed, things that they struggled with, questions they had, what they were so surprised by, what went so well, what they're excited about, and just kind of see where they're at then. And then we'll take it from there.
That's beautiful, because I really like the aspect that you said it's client led, because it gives them ownership as to where they are at this moment, where they'd like to go, and knowing that tweaking it along the way is great. You don't need to stay in this whole mindset or this lane you can tweak it as you go along. And
Exactly.
I love that, because by client leading the conversation and you're listening to them, you're guiding them, it really gives them their ownership that they're making the change in the life, that you're not dictating to them what they need to do, because
Right.
each individual is so different, so different.
Yeah. And if we would all listen to what we know, if we could do that, we wouldn't need this
Right.
because people aren't going to do it if they don't. It has to come from them. It
Yes.
has to be, we all could read a book on nutrition and eat perfectly if that's all it took, but
Right.
there's so much more to it. So I can provide a little, I don't completely let some of them run wild with things
Right.
or change course too much. Like we have to stick to why you came here. Let's go back to, if they get too off track, I'll say, okay, that's great. Let's think about why you're here. Let's make sure that thing that
Mhm.
came up in today's session is in line with what we talked about and what's important to you. And
Right.
if it is, great. If it's not, well, how does this fit in? Do we
Yeah.
need to reevaluate? That kind of thing. But yes, it's largely client led because it has to come from them.
Yes.
They have to have the motivation from within. And then I can help guide them, help them stay on track, support them,
Right.
help them see things that they might be missing because they're just
Hmm.
too in it at the moment. But that's really how it works.
I love that. I love that you're really allowing and you encourage your client to be a true participant in how they would like to make changes in their life with their nutrition. And there's always those aha moments.
Yeah.
And it's the best feeling. So as their nutritionist, you're guiding them, but how does that make you feel when all of a sudden you see the client having that aha moment?
It's amazing. It's amazing. It really is. It just makes me so happy. I think, this is hard. Life is hard.
Right. Right.
Dealing with our health is hard. I became so passionate about it. And then along the way, I watched a lot of documentaries and read a lot of books. And it was kind of my thing that like a hobby or an interest or whatever, before I started coaching. And I would see other people who weren't that into nutrition, who were just buying whatever off the shelf because it looked healthier. And after learning about it and knowing how bad some of the things are, and here they are thinking they're like making this healthy choice, it broke my heart, to be honest. So when I see people making changes, whether it's a small change or having an aha moment where they fall in love with something so good for them, that's the best. That's the best. It makes me happy.
That's beautiful. And I know that with your coaching that you do with your clients, how does your intentional way of your living roll into conversations with your not so young children anymore, your husband and your family and friends around you? Have you become the go-to source, or do you just let the conversation naturally go where it's going if they're interested in as to what you're doing for your clean eating? I know that's a mouthful.
Yeah, it's a little bit of both, depending. I definitely have some people who come to me with questions, or who know that I love talking about it. So if they're into something at the moment, we'll, have our big conversations about that. I have had a lot of family members get on board.
That's beautiful.
Like my sisters-in-law, brothers-in-law, and I think it's been positive, for a lot of people. And with my children, it's funny because they kind of roll their eyes at a lot of what I say.
Well, that's motherhood. So
Yeah. But then they'll come back with something later.
Mm,
So I'm a big believer in, I try, like, even if they say something that I'm just want to chime in with my own little 2 cents, I just stop myself
yeah,
and then I'll revisit it later. Like,
right.
oh, that thing we were talking about, maybe you should try this. Um, and I'll see things in them that they're doing that I know what I'm doing is sinking in. But I'm purposeful in certain relationships not to push it.
Right.
And if there's not openness on their part, I won't. But I have, like, my daughter makes smoothies and eats salads at lunch, and my son won't eat certain junk foods. And, there are things that trickle down to them.
That's
And that's,
beautiful. And it's
yeah, it makes
more of
me
your
happy.
actions versus your words
Yeah.
that they're following suit on certain aspects. So that's beautiful. Beautiful.
There are some things like that I just try to pass along. It's funny because one of the words is intentional that I've passed along to them. And again, I try not to harp on it with them, but I noticed during certain times of the year, like summer vacation,
Yeah.
for my kids, and I work in the school, so I'm off in the summer as well, winter break, snow days, long weekends, like any time where they have a stretch of time where they don't have much to do. We're kind of maybe around the house a lot because of the weather or whatever, that they would get a little moody, a little grumpy. And the same for me. Like, as much as I love relaxing, Donna, I love being cozy on the couch. I'm not like a go-getter when it comes to like, venturing out on a busy Saturday. I'd much rather be at home. But I know that having structure to your day, having routines and doing things to take care of yourself is so important. And then your mood will be better. So I had a conversation with two of my children on separate, unrelated occasions, who were just noticing like kind of a moodiness, maybe getting a little blue, a little grumpy. And so I phrased it, as my own experience too, that when you're going to have a day like that, maybe be more intentional about it. So like if we have a weekend with nothing going on, like we had one not too long ago with the crazy weather here. There was Saturday and a Sunday we were kind of cooped up, and then we had a snow day on Monday or some version of that. Be productive one of the days and then have an intentional lazy day. So there's nothing you have to do on that intentional day, but just having that mindset that you're going to have a lazy day. Makes it feel better than if it's just, oh, I did nothing today, I'm still in my pajamas. Or,
I really
that kind
love
of thing.
that word intentional, that you set that tone for it. So I know for me, with the cleaner eating and really being intentional as to what I'm putting in my body, I have felt better than I've had in a long time because of that. I don't have that bloated feeling or that lethargic feeling nearly as much as I did prior to the cleaner eating. And I thank you for that. Um, before we close to the listeners, I would like you to share with them where they can connect with you.
Sure, I would love that. I am on Instagram and Facebook as Mary Driscoll Wellness. I have a website that's currently under construction, so you won't really find me there yet, but when it's ready, it's marydriscollwellness.com. And then my email is marydriscollwellness@gmail.com. And I would love an email. I love getting emails with questions, with what are you up to, or, hey, I saw you on Instagram and I have a question about chicken, whatever.
Right.
I just love hearing from people. And I also have a clean eating group coming up in March.
Okay.
March 2nd. I haven't done one in a while. Things have been busy, but I love doing clean eating groups, which is just very low pressure. But people really have a lot of times have great results from them. It's just 5 days where we stick together and try to eat as clean as we can. Some are stricter than others, but I provide a meal plan, group support in Facebook or via email, or on Zoom sometimes. So that will be March 2nd through March 6th.
Beautiful, beautiful. And I hope that you will continue to offer those to people, because I know that was my catalyst to really go into it, because knowing there was other people in the group and it was a beautiful group support and you really led the group so beautifully. So, Energy Serenity podcast listeners, please connect with Mary Driscoll at Mary Driscoll Wellness. She's on Instagram, Facebook. Her website is under construction right now, but you'll be able to connect with her through email as well. So, Mary, thank you so much for joining me this evening. It was a pure delight reconnecting again. And I'm so excited as to where your journey will continue to take you on clean eating and really being people's great champion, that it doesn't have to be difficult. So thank you.
Thank you, Donna. It was so nice.
Great. Take care.
Thanks for having me.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me on Energy is Serenity. I appreciate you taking the time to explore the power of the word, mindfulness, and calming practices with me. If today's episode resonated, please subscribe and consider leaving a review. Until next time, may your energy be serene and your words be empowered. Namaste.